this afternoon's top stories. Trudeau's visit to the Federation gets major international coverage. U.S. urged to close detention center in Cuba, and President Obama to deliver final State of the Union speech. Good afternoon and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Tuesday, January 12, 2016. I am J.D. Keynes. In national news, the recent visit of Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to St. Kitts and Nevis is making headlines around the world. In an online article published on January 10th, the Canadian press wrote, quote, there was also room for some diplomatic business as Trudeau met and was bid farewell at his January 8th departure by the Prime Minister of the islands, Timothy Harris, and the country's Foreign Affairs Minister, end quote. While another Canadian publication, Toronto Live, penned, quote, Canada's boyfriend, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, took the wife and kids for a holiday vacation on the island of Nevis at some point shortly after Christmas, end quote. That article zoomed in on some of Trudeau's activities while in the Federation, including his time at the Paradise Beach Resort. It referred to the resort as, quote, a fancy beachside getaway that advertises its concierge services and in-house spa treatments, end quote. Z1035.com is also talking about Trudeau's visit and Nevis too. In its January 11th write-up on the vacation, the online publication printed, quote, Nevis is a small island in the Caribbean Sea that forms part of the inner arc of the Leeward Islands chain of the West Indies, end quote, adding, quote, Nevis and the neighboring island of St. Kitts constitute one country, the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, end quote, and continuing with more details about the Federation's geographical location. Timothy Antoine, the man who will, from February 1st, 2016, serve as governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, or ECCB, here in St. Kitts, has addressed media professionals in his homeland of Grenada. ZIZ News has secured a copy of the recent media briefing, which came immediately following a press conference of that country's Prime Minister, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. During his remarks, Antoine spoke of the overwhelming show of support he had received, particularly from the Grenadians.
That the last 72 hours have been incredible, for want of a better word. I could not imagine the outpouring of support that I have received since this announcement. Literally hundreds of calls, emails, texts have come in, and I'm not counting Facebook because I'm not yet on Facebook. I have heard of the Facebook messages, but I have not seen them.
Antoine said such support has inspired him. It is no secret that Antoine is replacing Sir K. Dwight Venner, the immediate past governor who had served as the bank's leader for more than 2 decades. Antoine revealed that he had personally and professionally benefited from working with Sir Dwight and therefore grasped the opportunity to wish the former governor well.
I want to express my profound gratitude to Sir Dwight Venner for his colossal contribution, not just to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank over his 26 years as governor, a record which I do not believe will ever be broken, but his human service, his noble service, his profound love, passion for the people of our region, which has driven him over all these years.
That was newly appointed governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Timothy Antoine. The federal government is expanding the Parks and Beaches unit of the People's Employment Program, or PEP, and this expansion has seen the employment of workers skilled in the agricultural sector. The St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service is reporting that on Monday, January 11th, the group that piloted the expanded agricultural initiative in Phillips's donated the first 1,000 pounds of pumpkin to the St. Christopher Children's Home, the School Meals Program, and the Garden Home. Speaking during a brief handing over ceremony, Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Osbert D'Souza, said he was extremely pleased about the success of the initiative thus far. He said that PEP He said that the PEP group in Phillips's has not only just cleaned the land, but has also ventured into vegetable production. He thanked the group and all responsible for their hard work and indicated that this program will be adopted in other areas. He said that he hopes to see other crops being produced shortly.
Looking for news online? Check out zizonline.com. Go to www.zizonline.com on any of your devices to find sports, local, regional, and international news, live radio, and TV. To stay in the know, like us on Facebook for ZIZ news and content on your newsfeed. zizonline.com, reaching you wherever you are.
Regionally, the Executive Director of the St. Lucia Chamber of Industry of Chamber Commerce and Agriculture says there are fundamental structural issues which need to be addressed if the island's economy is to be salvaged. Sarah Peter tells us more in this report.
Executive Director of the St. Lucia Chamber of Commerce, Brian Louisi, has reiterated calls by the president of the business organization for more to be done to accelerate economic growth and to encourage investment.
We need to return our economy to growth. We need to spur the economy on. We need to work hard to encourage investment and to give people the confidence that there will be decent returns with their investments so that they can start to hire people and people could get back to work. We also need to encourage persons themselves to start their own businesses and promote entrepreneurship as the first choice.
Louisi expressed disappointment over a number of outcomes.
We're seeing the fact that St. Lucia, it's been 3 years of recession, and there's optimism, and the World Bank and the government has indicated that they expect growth in the economy, but that is coming on the tail end of a global upturn, and it seems while now there may be a downturn, we are still climbing up. So we have to be concerned that our economy needs to tackle some of the structural problems that will give it the feet to stand on.
Louisi says the business community is hoping to work with the government in that regard.
Whilst there is a certain level of optimism, we have to continue to work hard to deal with the fundamentals of the economy. And I think that is something we certainly would like to join the government in doing.
Louisi says the disruption in the Middle East should be a cause for concern.
When one looks at what's happening globally, one has to be concerned about some of the happenings, the instability in the Middle East, which seems not to be subsiding and actually being instigated and catalyzed more. You have to be concerned how that will impact the global economy. We look at the fact that very early in the new year, the China stock market crashed. We also look at the fact that the outlook for some of the global economy, the wider global economy, is not as robust as initially predicted of 6 months ago.
The government of St. Lucia is optimistic that the recently implemented Citizenship by Investment program will help boost the island's economy. For the DBS News World, I am Sarah Peter.
Human rights experts from the United Nations and the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE, on Monday called on the United States government to promptly close the Guantanamo Bay detention facility in Cuba and end impunity for abuses in the so-called global war on terror, such as enhanced interrogation techniques and extraordinary rendition. The experts recalled that close to 100 detainees still suffer in Guantanamo after years of illogical detention without trial outside the rule of law and the reach of the U.S. regular courts despite an executive order issued by President Barack Obama in January 2009 to release or transfer them and close the facility within 1 year. They have further called for an immediate end to the prolonged arbitrary detention of all Guantanamo Bay detainees by releasing them to their home country or to a third country should they be at risk of persecution, or transferring them to regular detention centers on the U.S. mainland and so they can be prosecuted before ordinary courts. 4 years ago, then UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Navi Pillay spoke out against the failure to close the facility despite Obama's order and to ensure accountability, citing it as a clear breach of international law. More residents in Guyana's indigenous communities stand to benefit as the government plans to expand its housing program.
The construction of core houses in indigenous communities could soon be extended to Regions 7 and 8. Dawn Hastings, Junior Communities Minister with responsibility for regional development, said government will soon be conducting a feasibility study with the aim of having the project extended to communities in those regions in 2017. The project, which started under the previous government in collaboration with the Inter-American Development Bank, is currently ongoing in Regions 1 and 9.
Effort with the communities, the Tushas and the persons who living there. They will come up with their own plans, their own styles of the buildings, and they also give their part. Let's say, okay, they already have materials, building wooden materials. All they needed is the ministry to supply the zinc roof. That's how they have been working previously, and we plan to continue doing that with few other communities throughout the regions.
The houses will be constructed on communal lands in the indigenous communities.
You know, there are families that they already have a piece of land identified for them. They probably might have, let's say, some walls, some boards to build their walls, but that's only where they can go up to. They do not have the financial support to buy the zinc and to do the water tank.
Apart from the construction of houses, the ministry will be working on the rehabilitation of roads, bridges, and accommodation for workers in the area of health and education. Minister Hastings also said the Ministry of Communities will be working closely with the people of Region 10 to ensure priority areas identified are implemented. Among those priority areas are the provision of social services, economic diversity, tourism, agriculture, and environmental sustainability. Reporting for Capital News, I'm Wharton.
Internationally, President Barack Obama is gearing to make his final State of the Union speech later today. The president has stated that he intends to make his final speech a very non-traditional one. More in this report.
It's my last one.
In a pair of White House videos, President Obama previews a speech that will be less legislative to-do list and instead a defiant blueprint for the next administration.
Never in our lives again will we have the chance to do as much good as we do right now.
Mr. Obama will hail accomplishments, including expanded health care, a landmark nuclear deal with Iran, and global agreement on climate change.
The state of our union is a mess.
He'll also try to counter what the White House called an avalanche of negativity from Republicans.
I think the state of the economy and the state of our foreign affairs is terrible right now, and people are really worried about national security. 65% of Americans believe that the country is on the wrong track, according to the latest CBS News New York Times poll. And 67% said the fight against ISIS is going badly.
Would you say the president feels like he needs to be on the offensive?
I think the president feels like this is a good opportunity when you have the attention of the Congress and the American people to help people understand this case.
Seated alongside the First Lady on Tuesday night will be a Syrian refugee, the lead plaintiff in the Supreme Court case that legalized same-sex marriage, and a vacant seat to represent victims of gun violence.
The President of the United States!
Powerful symbols, but no specific policy proposals from a president unlikely to get major legislation through a Republican-controlled Congress in his final year.
Now, to be fair, Capitol Hill's own approval rating is sinking. 75% of Americans disapprove of Congress. Tomorrow, the president will begin traveling the country to promote his agenda. The White House says this is aimed at making his message more accessible, which is also, Nora, why it will be live streamed on Amazon tonight for the first time.
10 people have died and 15 injured as a result of a massive explosion caused by a deadly bomb attack at a tourist attraction in Istanbul, Turkey. Here's more.
An explosion has struck Istanbul's central Sultanahmet Square, the heart of the city's old town and a major tourist attraction. Turkish TV stations are reporting casualties, saying there are a number of dead and wounded. Witnesses reported hearing a loud blast. Police and ambulances have been at the scene close to the Blue Mosque. The area has been sealed off. Who or what caused the explosion is not immediately clear. Turkey's been on high alert. Violence in the southeast of the country has risen since a ceasefire with Kurdish militants ended. A bomb in Ankara in October was blamed by the government on ISIL.
Iraqis in an eastern neighborhood of Baghdad are assessing the damage caused by a bomb and shooting attack on a shopping mall that left dozens of people dead and injured many others. More in this report.
Residents of Baghdad assess the damage caused by an attack in the Iraqi city's eastern neighborhood. A crater can clearly be seen at the entrance to the Jawara Mall, where a bomb was detonated on Monday. 18 people were killed in the explosion and 50 injured. Nearby buildings and vehicles were also damaged. Many people were martyred here, he says. Lots of elderly people, women and children were killed. All these houses you can see around us were destroyed. New Baghdad has become an area of devastation. ISIL has claimed responsibility for the attack, along with another in the town of Muqtadiya that killed at least 51 on Monday. 2 guards have been killed in a third, as yet unclaimed attack near Bakuba. A statement posted online gives details of the Baghdad car bomb and 4 ISIL fighters.
And now taking a look at the weather. Temperatures today will peak at 77 degrees Fahrenheit. A gentle breeze will blow from the northeast at 9 miles per hour. The weather forecast predicts partly sunny skies in general today, with a chance of a light passing shower later today, becoming mostly fair and cool tonight, with a brief late night shower possible. Seas are very rough with swells up to 10 feet. A firm warning remains in effect for small craft operators and sea bathers against hazardous sea conditions. Sunset today will be at 5:55 and sunrise for tomorrow will be at 6:38 a.m. And that brings us to the end of ZIZ's Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. I have been your presenter, JD Keynes. Have a great afternoon.